July 15th, 2020. It's the middle of the summer of COVID. The world is anxious. We're locked inside, glued to our screens. The internet isn't just a utility anymore. It's our lifeline. 4:17 p.m. East Coast time. A notification lights up on millions of phones. It's a tweet from Elon Musk. Now, Elon's known for being unpredictable. He posts memes. He argues with critics. He moves markets. But this tweet, this is different. It isn't a joke. It's a solicitation. It says, "I'm feeling generous because of COVID-19. Double any payment sent to my BTC address for the next hour. Good luck and stay safe out there." Below the text is a string of random alphanumeric characters, a Bitcoin wallet address. For a few minutes, the world is confused. Is this real? Is the richest man in the world actually doing a pandemic giveaway? But before the internet can even process the question, the notification sound happens again and again. Bill Gates tweets the exact same message, then Jeff Bezos, then Warren Buffett, then Apple, then Uber, then Kanye West. And then the breach crosses the line from financial scam to national security crisis. The account of former President Barack Obama posts the scam. Then Joe Biden, who is currently running for president of the United States. Then Mike Bloomberg. In the span of 45 minutes, the digital voices of the most powerful politicians, billionaires, and corporations on Earth were hijacked. They were all speaking in unison, and they all wanted the same thing: your Bitcoin. Inside the situation rooms of the FBI and the NSA, panic set in immediately. They didn't think hacker. They thought war. If someone could tweet as the president, they could declare war. They could crash the stock market. They could incite civil unrest. Was this Russian intelligence? North Korea? Was this the first shot in a cyber war? But the truth? The truth was way stranger, and honestly, way more embarrassing than international espionage. The person holding the world hostage wasn't a foreign general. It was a 17-year-old kid named Graham Ivan Clark. He was sitting in a messy bedroom in a condo in Tampa, Florida, surrounded by empty pizza boxes and energy drinks. And he didn't use a supercomputer or a zero-day exploit to break into the most secure social media platform in history. He used a cell phone. And he used a lie.
To understand how a teenager broke the internet, we have to stop looking at the code and start looking at the kid. Graham Ivan Clark was born in Tampa, Florida. By all accounts, he had a rough start. His parents divorced when he was 7. He didn't fit in at school. So, like a lot of lonely kids, he escaped into the one place where he could be anyone he wanted: Minecraft. But Graham wasn't building castles. He was playing on hardcore faction servers. This is a brutal version of the game, where players fight for territory and loot. And in this world, Graham, known by aliases like Open and OpenHCF, earned a reputation, not as a great fighter, but as a ruthless scammer. He would sell rare items, take the money, and run. He would befriend people just to betray them. By the time he was 15, he was banned from the OG Users Forum for ripping people off. He was a digital con artist in training, and he was good at it. In 2019, a year before the Twitter hack, he was actually involved in a SIM swapping attack that stole $856,000 in Bitcoin from a tech investor in Seattle. The Secret Service actually caught him. They seized 100 Bitcoin from him. But because he was a minor, they let him go. That was the turning point. He learned that he could steal a fortune and walk away. He felt untouchable. But a general needs an army, or at least some lieutenants. Enter Nima Fazeli. Online, he was Rolex, a name that screams luxury, wealth, status. In reality, Nima was a 22-year-old business student at the University of Central Florida. He was living at home, trying to get into grad school. He wasn't a master hacker. He was just a guy trying to make a quick buck brokering usernames. And then there was Mason Shepard. Online, he was Chaewon. His avatar was a K-pop star. In reality, he was a 19-year-old kid living in Bognor Regis, a quiet seaside town in the UK. These were not international super spies. They were a college student, a K-pop stan, and a Minecraft scammer. They met in a Discord chat, and Graham Clark, using the alias Kirk, sold them a lie that would change their lives. But here is the question. Why did Graham need them? If he was the genius hacker, why split the money? The answer lies in the specific economy of OG users. In this world, rep is everything. You have a profile. You have a vouch count. You have a trust score. If you have low rep, nobody sends you Bitcoin first. They assume you're going to pull an exit scam, take the money, and ghost. Graham Clark had 0 rep. In fact, he had negative rep. He had been banned from the forum back in 2018 for scamming people over Minecraft capes. He was radioactive. If he posted, "I have at Elon Musk for sale," he would have been laughed out of the chat. That's where Rolex and Chaewon came in. They were trusted members. They had hundreds of vouchers. They acted as middlemen, holding the Bitcoin in escrow until the account was transferred. So they made a deal. Graham would be the manufacturer, Rolex and Chaewon would be the distributors. Graham would hack the accounts, pass them to the brokers, and they would sell them to the highest bidder. It was a classic criminal franchise. He told them he worked at Twitter. He told them he could get them any name they wanted. And because they were greedy, or maybe just naive, they believed him. He was lying. He didn't have an insider. Through a stroke of social engineering genius, he was about to become the insider.
Twitter didn't break because of bad code. It broke because of the pandemic. July 2020. Twitter HQ in San Francisco is a ghost town. Everyone's remote, working from living rooms and kitchen tables. That security perimeter? Gone. In an office, if IT calls you, you can look across the desk and ask, "Hey, is this real?" At home, you're on an island. So Graham goes hunting. He scrapes LinkedIn, building a hit list of Twitter employees. But he's not just taking shots in the dark, he's climbing a ladder. Step 1. The support staff. Graham targets the lower-level reps first. He calls them up, posing as IT. He's got the jargon down cold. "Hey, we're seeing a sync error on your VPN. You need to re-authenticate right now or you're locked out for the day." It works. He compromises a few accounts. Now, he doesn't have God mode yet, but he's inside the building. He's got access to Slack. He's got the orgs charts. He's standing in the lobby looking for the elevator. He uses that access to find his real targets. He needs the keys to the kingdom. He needs trust and safety, the team that handles legal compliance and takedowns. He finds them, and he launches phase 2. He calls them up, but this time he's even more convincing because he's calling from inside the house. He knows who they are, who their boss is, what tools they use. He tricks a trust and safety employee into logging into his fake portal. And because of single sign-on, that login doesn't just give them VPN access, it gives them their identity. Graham Clark is now authenticated as a trust and safety officer. He navigates to the internal admin dashboard. The tool? They called it the agent tool.
For years, conspiracy theorists had whispered about a shadow ban button,
or a master switch at Twitter. They asked, "Can Twitter employees read my DMs? Can they see who I am?" The agent tool confirmed everything. It wasn't just a support dashboard. It was the legal compliance interface. It was the tool used to process government subpoenas and law enforcement requests. It allowed an agent to pull up any user profile on the platform to comply with court orders. But crucially, it had a set of buttons: update email, turn off 2FA, reset password. Graham, still using the alias Kirk, went back to Discord. He posted a screenshot of the dashboard to Rolex and Chewan. The caption was simple: "I work at Twitter. Don't ask." To prove it, he started taking requests. Rolex wanted the handle @foreign. He pulled it up in the tool, deleted the owner's email address, replaced it with a throwaway email, and reset the password. In seconds, he had stolen a digital asset worth thousands of dollars. For the first few hours of July 15th, this was just a vanity heist. They were looting the store for cool usernames. They flipped handles like @dark, @w, @l, and @50. They were making good money, tens of thousands of dollars in Bitcoin from buyers on the black market. But Graham got bored. He looked at the dashboard and realized the magnitude of what he was holding. He wasn't just an admin for the cool kids section of Twitter. He was an admin for the world. He typed Elon Musk into the search bar. The profile loaded. The update email button was right there. It wasn't grayed out. There was no executive level lock requiring two people to turn a key. It was just open. At that moment, the motive shifted. He didn't want to sell usernames anymore. He wanted to burn the house down. The public attack began around 2 p.m. with cryptocurrency exchanges: Binance, Gemini, Coinbase. They all tweeted out a link to a scam site called Crypto for Health. Twitter's security team, known internally as the Blue Team, noticed the anomaly immediately. They saw the tweets. They panicked. They deleted them and locked the compromised accounts. But they were fighting a ghost. Every time they locked an account, Graham, watching from his God mode dashboard, simply unlocked it. He was faster than them because he was using their own tools against them. It was like trying to lock your front door while the burglar is holding the spare key. At 3 p.m., Graham abandoned the Crypto for Health website. It was getting flagged by spam filters. He decided to go direct. He took over Elon Musk's account. When the tweet went out, "Double any payment sent to my BTC address," the floodgates opened. The Bitcoin blockchain is a public ledger. You can watch it in real time. We saw the money pouring into Graham's wallet. $10,000, $20,000, $50,000. But Graham understood psychology. For a scam to work, you need social proof. You need verification. If just Elon tweets it, maybe people think he was hacked. But if Bill Gates tweets it too? If Apple tweets it? The inclusion of Apple and Uber was particularly damaging. These are trillion-dollar companies. They have entire buildings full of cybersecurity experts. When their official accounts posted a Bitcoin scam, it signaled a total collapse of digital infrastructure. It meant that nobody was safe. By 5 p.m., the mainstream news networks were breaking in: CNN, BBC, Fox News. The anchors were confused reading the scam tweets out loud on air.
Inside Twitter headquarters, the situation was catastrophic. Executives like Jack Dorsey were being briefed. They realized they couldn't stop the intruder because they couldn't identify which employee accounts he was using fast enough. He was jumping from one compromised account to another, staying one step ahead of the blue team. So at 6:18 p.m., Twitter executives made a call that had never been made before. They decided to nuke the site to save it. They pulled the kill switch.
For the first time in history, Twitter hard-blocked every single verified account from tweeting. If you had a blue checkmark, you were gagged. The President of the United States couldn't tweet. The New York Times couldn't post the news. The National Weather Service couldn't post tornado warnings. The platform turned into a ghost town. The only people who could speak were the unverified masses. It was an eerie, surreal moment. The hierarchy of the internet had been inverted. The scam stopped, but only because Twitter had to strangle its own product. Graham Clark sat in his room. The tweets were gone. His access was finally revoked. But he looked at his Bitcoin wallet. It held roughly 12.8 Bitcoin. At the time, that was worth about $117,000. He had pulled off the heist of the century. He had humiliated the tech giants. He had the money. Now, he just had to get away with it. This is where the story turns from a high-tech thriller into a comedy of errors. Graham was a genius social engineer, but he was a terrible money launderer. Graham made 3 critical mistakes. Mistake number 1, Discord. Graham communicated with his accomplices, Rolex and Chewan, entirely over Discord. He didn't use encrypted messaging like Signal. He used a gaming chat app. Mistake number 2, the database leak. Months prior to the hack, the OG users forum itself had been hacked. A database containing user emails, IP addresses, and private messages was leaked online. The FBI already had this database. When they saw the username Rolex involved in the Twitter hack, they simply CTRL-F'd the database. They found his real name, his address in California, and his IP logs. Rolex and Chewan were arrested quickly, and they flipped. They gave up everything they knew about Kirk. Mistake number 3, the money. This is the smoking gun. To turn that Bitcoin into cash, you eventually have to use an exchange. Graham and his crew used Coinbase. Because of Know Your Customer, KYC banking laws, to use Coinbase, you have to upload a photo of your government ID. Graham Clark, the mastermind who hacked the planet, had uploaded a photo of his real Florida driver's license to the very account he used to receive some of the stolen funds. He hacked the most powerful people on Earth, masked his IP addresses, used VPNs, and then he signed his name on the receipt. It took the FBI, the IRS, and the Secret Service less than 2 weeks to connect the dots. On July 31st, just 16 days after the hack, a tactical team raided a quiet condo complex in Tampa. They brought Graham out in handcuffs.
The legal proceedings were fascinating. Graham was 17, a minor. In the federal system, charging a minor with these kinds of cybercrimes is complicated. He could have slipped through the cracks or received a slap on the wrist. So, the prosecutors got creative. The Manhattan District Attorney, Cyrus Vance Jr., waived jurisdiction and handed the case to the state of Florida. Florida law allows minors to be charged as adults for financial crimes more easily. Graham Clark was charged with 30 felonies, including organized fraud, communications fraud, and identity theft. He faced a potential sentence of decades in prison. However, his lawyers negotiated a plea deal under Florida's Youthful Offender Act. In March 2021, the mastermind behind the biggest social media hack in history was sentenced to 3 years in a maximum security juvenile prison, followed by 3 years of probation. He served his time. He is out now. But the legacy of what he did remains.
The Twitter Bitcoin hack was a wake-up call that most of us hit snooze on. We want to believe that our digital safety is guarded by complex algorithms, unbreakable encryption, and biometric scanners. We want to believe that companies like X, Apple, and Google are fortresses. But Graham Ivan Clark proved that the fortress has a side door. And to open it, you don't need a battering ram or a supercomputer. You don't need to be a coding genius. You just need to call the guard, sound like a nice guy, and ask him to let you in. The hack stripped away the illusion of authority. It showed us that behind the blue checkmark, behind the corporate logo, behind the presidential seal, there's just a database entry waiting to be edited by a bored teenager with a phone. So, the next time you see a tweet or a text or an email that looks a little too good to be true, remember the day the blue checks died. Because on the internet, nobody is who they say they are. If you enjoyed this investigation and want to see more deep dives into the dark corners of the digital world, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel get these stories out to more people. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a case. We have a lot more stories to tell. Stay safe out there. See you in the next one.